If I was a voter, I would consider giving Myles Garrett my MVP vote.
I feel like he should have at least been a finalist.
They had seasons that have been done. They've had seasons that's been done year to year. It might not even be better than the last year MVP season. We had a defensive season that's never been done. I think he is the best player in the league, and he is unanimously better than the next best defensive player.
For sure.
And now NFL IQ with Cynthia Frelund and Logan Ryan.
Welcome to the, let's call it week 21. We're in that Pro Bowl-ish, award season-ish week. We'll get to the Super Bowl. We will save that for next week. But we have to do an award show because obviously our awards are the ones that really count here on the show. Remember to subscribe, like, follow the show. I'm here with my two-time Super Bowl champ, Logan Ryan, and my three-time dad, who will be officially a four-time dad by the next time we see him on the
Thank you.
Zach,
Yeah.
I mean, pre-congrats. We probably won't, talk to you for a little while after, because, I mean, that is some serious zone defense. We're going to have to talk about, like,
Cover
the
4.
different strategies. Is it a shell concept? Like, what do we do? Like, good for you, 2-on-1 for...
Yeah, we're gearing up for it. I think my wife, she's ready to go at any minute. Hopefully, she's hoping it's during this podcast rather than next week. But we got the bags packed. We're staying ready and excited to bring home number 4.
Staying ready in the snow, mind you, in Indianapolis.
Yes.
I mean, I'm glad everyone's safe. That is the most, like, everyone looks so cold, including Logan. Have you thawed out yet, my friend?
Yeah, AFC Championship game was cold, really cold. The weather turned sideways on us there, but New England packed the all-white unis for the blizzard. Always a step ahead. We're always a step ahead going back to the Super Bowl there. So exciting times. I know I'm in a beanie and hoodie. I live in Florida, but it actually is. It's 40 today. It's in the 40s.
Oh,
That's really
okay.
cold for us. That's not supposed to be why we live here. So it's cold everywhere right now.
Okay, so you have to give us some of your takeaways. I know you weren't watching the broadcast, but I don't think Tony Romo could have pointed out the white uniform thing anymore. In fact, my husband was like, why does he keep saying that? I was like, because he's really thinking it. He's really thinking a lot about it. Tell us what your takeaways were. Did Sean Payton get too aggressive? What was the tell us everything that we didn't see, because it was a blizzard and we couldn't really see anything on our TVs.
Yeah, I'll start with Evan Washburn on the sideline. Looked like Jack Frost with the snow in his hair. That was pretty funny. In terms of the game, in all seriousness, I feel like New England's so well coached in every area. Look, you can look back and say Sean Payton should have kicked the field goal, but Stidham came out hot. We've heard so much about how he was a good athlete. We heard so much how he's built for the moment. I mean, he beat Christian Gonzalez early in the game. They called a rollout play there to the right for the easy touchdown. Tons of momentum in Denver. It's hard to play in Denver early with altitude. In my opinion, it affects you the most early in the game. We've discussed that. So 4th and 1, points going to be a premium. You're thinking, hey, I'm going to call the same rollout play. And honestly, the Patriots were in a defense to stop that play. If they would have ran the ball downhill, they probably would have got it. But they try to call bootleg, Zach. They try to get cute because Sean Payton assumed that the Patriots were going to stop the run. And that was supposed to be a no-brainer, easy play. And the defense was just in a better play. Check to Mike Vrabel there. Then obviously when the weather happens, points are at a premium. The punting game was horrible. The field position was not in the Patriots' favor. And I thought they did a beautiful job of understanding that and not even attempting to score. Not just giving the ball back and realizing that defense is going to win this game. And obviously sitting with the interception to Christian Gonzalez, which was eerily similar to Stephon Gilmore's interception, by the way. It's almost exact same coverage, same side of the field. Iswell wins it. If Bo Nix plays, it could be different. If the weather changes, it could be different. But that's football. You never know. And I feel like New England just made fewer mistakes in a terrible weather game.
Can you explain the coverage to us, like non-defensive, back people here? So what was the coverage? What is that? What were they looking for? And what happened? Talk us through it. I know we can't see it, but we can remember.
Yeah. They brought pressure on Stidham. I think that's what they realized after the first few drives. They got to bring some pressure on him. That's tough for any quarterback, let alone you don't get a lot of starts under your belt. So they brought pressure in a crucial situation, and he beat Christian Gonzalez early in the game. And Christian Gonzalez kind of bailed off, read the route really well, really easy interception. But That's the same thing that Stephon Gilmore did in the playoffs against Jared Goff, where Jared Goff felt pressure, threw it up to his one-on-one, and then the all-pro corner or the top defensive back sitting there, and they make you pay. You make a mistake, and great players make you pay. Sometimes it doesn't need a spectacular play, but it's an important play. So I felt like, the Patriots definitely started to heat them up in the second half, and that's what it was. And that was, Stidham made a few mistakes, but that obviously was a costly one. If they don't turn the ball over there, they probably punt it back to New England. New England can't do much with it, so probably has to punt it back. You might have one more possession there. So just forcing it in that situation kind of cost them at the end.
What do you see from this? I mean, what happens when you're an O lineman play? Like, what are the trenches like when the weather goes from like cold to like cold and wet?
Well, we've talked about it. I know Logan talked about it last week as far as like slowing down the athletes. Well, as an offensive lineman, it slows down the D lineman. So I know as an O lineman, I always love playing in kind of sloppy games because I know the pass rush is going to be a fraction of what it usually is. So really up front, it doesn't change a lot. Now, obviously, Denver was pressed there at the end a little bit, had to make a play. But back to Logan's point, I just think I'm so impressed with how New England's coached, how they prepare. They were playing in the same conditions. New England didn't press too much in the game. They had confidence in their defense to close it out, and Patriots are back at it again, man.
I think it was funny. One of my coworkers after was like, there are 7-year-olds that do not remember the Patriots going to the Super Bowl. They've lived their whole life without the
Yeah.
Patriots in the Super Bowl.
Oh,
And
for
you need to
them,
see it, you
for
need to see
them,
it once.
for them. Yeah.
I mean, it's just, some crocodile tears for them. Okay, so
Yeah.
I think it would be fun in this episode for us to go through the awards that we're going to see at NFL Honors, but we will give our own version. Now, I think we can obviously go off script, but there are 5 finalists for everything except Protector of the Year, which there's like an infinite number. So let's just start with the Offensive Rookie of the Year. Right now, the 5 finalists are Jackson Dart, Emeka Egbuka, Travion Henderson, Tedero McMillan, and Tyler Shuck. I'm going to give you a stat first because whatever, new stats, and then you guys can tell me what your football lens is. So I think this award is as close as I've seen it in a long time. Usually I have a good lean as to who has the best data, but I created this silly thing called, I tried to do like WAR in baseball. I tried to, like player efficiency rankings in NBA. It's very hard to distill kind of a value for an individual player, but I tried to do it with win share. It maybe needs a better name, but the highest win share of these guys is actually Tyler Shuck, which is kind of cool because if you look at what he did, especially with intermediate passes, he led the league on 10 to 19 air yard passes in terms of completion percentage at 69%. He had a 121.6 passer rating and 12.1 yards per attempt on them. Both of those were number 2 in the league. He started 10 games and until the very last game of the season, he didn't throw a single interception against the blitz. He only had 6 interceptions in those 10 starts. And it's not like they were playing with this world-beating team. Even Alvin Kamara wasn't even playing for many of these games. So that's where my lean is. I don't think he'll be the one that wins because I think it'll be one of the receivers, probably Tedero McMillan, but because the Panthers and postseason, et cetera. But I don't know. Tyler Shuck to me is the one who has the highest win share.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with I'm gonna start with the positive here. I'm gonna pick my guy. Okay. I'm gonna go with Ted McMillan. Like you said, it was close. I thought Ibuka had an early lead. He kind of fizzled out a little bit. That happens to rookies. It's a long season on Zach, and I know that. I'm going to go with Ted McMillan. He was the number 1 wide receiver. The Panthers had a really good season for their standards, obviously making the playoffs, over 1,000 yards, 7 TDs. He reminds me a lot of Mike Evans. Now, I feel like this is the weakest category. No one really had anything spectacular. We had to choose somebody. Tyler Shuck played well. Didn't win the starting job early in the season, played a lot of meaningless football. And I know stats all count the same, but when you're playing the New Orleans Saints and they have 3 wins in week 13, I might be partying a little bit later the night before than playing somebody else. There's meaningless stats. They're meaningless football games. And I just feel like if I look at this the year prior, when you talk about that rookie class with Drake May and Bo Nix and Jaden Daniels, like that's a rookie class. They had some rookies that did some things and guys had 1,000 yards but it's really watered down, in my opinion, at all these categories. I had to pick somebody, and out of that, I'm going with Ted McMillan. But it was very close to Tyler Warren, very close to Ibuka, very close to this guy. So I'm going to go with Ted McMillan by default. He had a good year.
Yeah, I think the same, really. And I think it's more just because of the incomplete seasons, right? Like, Stuck had some great highlights. Ibuka early on the season was great. Dart obviously showed flashes, but no one really played that complete season. I mean, the two quarterbacks didn't even play a full slate. So I think Tet playing the whole season, having 1,000 yards, being the number one guy in Carolina, they make the playoffs. I think it's an easy pick, kind of straightforward pick.
Yep. All right, let's do the defensive rookie of the year. So, by the way, one of the guys who we'll talk about it for protector of the year, he won't win it, but I thought Gray Zabel, obviously
Yes.
offensive linemen don't really make offensive rookie of the year,
They
but
should.
you were on a Super Bowl bound team and you're playing like that. At least I don't know, he's not one of the 5 finalists though, so we had to narrow down.
Why isn't he? Why
Because
isn't he?
people who vote are crazy.
Yeah, crazy. Odell beat me my rookie year because he had the catch. I mean, that was he got
Yeah.
second my rookie year. That was the deal.
That was a tough one to beat, that one, yeah. He didn't play a full
Feels
season
like
either.
that would have beaten a lot, like that would have
Yeah.
beaten like all of these guys, that's for sure.
Hey,
Like
I'll say
Yeah.
this though, my rookie year, right? I led the AFC in interceptions with 5. Not all rookies led the entire conference. 5
Let's go.
interceptions. I had like 75 tackles, forced fumbles, and I lost to Kiko Alonso, who had a really good rookie year, right? I think he led the league in tackles as a rookie. So we're talking about some loaded rookie classes. I think I got all rookie team, but I didn't get the rookie of the year. I don't think I got the defensive rookie of the year. And I led the entire AFC in interceptions for the Patriots.
Listen,
Dang.
sometimes it's just
Hard out
stronger
here.
classes than others.
Hard out here.
Hey,
Yeah.
Kiko did his thing.
Hard
Man.
on
He
the
was traded,
street,
he was
man.
traded for like Shady McCoy straight up. So he was balling back then.
It's okay if you lose him. Okay, so Abdul Carter, Nick Emanwari, James Pierce Jr., Carson Schweisinger, and Xavier Watts. By the way, shout out to Watts for having a great game on Monday Night Football. I mean, he had a great season, don't get me wrong, but when the timing of the voting was like right after that, so like he knew exactly how to time that one perfectly. But I do want to point out that Carson Schweisinger led all rookies in tackles because the Browns had this thing where I believe that they had the most rookie yards by their running back, their and the most
Quarterback,
tackles,
wide
like some,
receiver, everything. Leading
Yep.
passer, leading receiver,
Yep.
leading rusher, leading
Which is cool.
tackler, all
For
rookies.
all
is cool.
rookies. Yeah, that is cool.
But I'm not picking him. I'm picking Nick Emanwari because I think it's kind of cool that because Carson Schweisinger, he doesn't play a sexy position, but he had a great season. That'll be great for him, But Nick Emanwari had a ridiculous year. I mean, he's the only defensive back that has played at least 100 snaps to line up at least half the time, so 51% of the time he lined up in the box. He had 17 pressures, which didn't just lead rookies; it led all defensive backs. And by the way, they played obviously 93% of the time with 5 defensive backs. And there's so many other good things about him, but I love those 17 pressures because that's just showing his versatility. And I thought that was the stat that really stood out. Plus, you saw him on the sideline, telling her like he looks like a leader already. He's maybe getting into a little like pepping his teammate up not to get taunting penalties, things like that. But to me, it's this one feels easy.
I'm gonna disagree. I think it does feel easy for in Schwesinger's defense. I called the Browns game this year, so I got to study a lot of them. First of all, we talked about Myles Garrett, who's gonna win an award for me. But to be a top defense, Jim Schwartz, to be a really good defense with a really bad offense is really hard to do. There's a lot of studs on Seattle all around, right? Cleveland, and the offense is also really good, and their coach of the year and their quarterback. Like Cleveland doesn't have all that. Schlesinger led all rookies, didn't play the last game of the season. He started all year long. And I know that he's a leader and a captain of that defense and has a lot of respect as a rookie, not a first-round pick. So we know how hard that is as well. So I think he was going to be like the unanimous defensive rookie of the year, probably until I don't know when the votes had to happen for
The
the
Monday
actual.
after, it was like the last Monday, it was like the same day all the coaches got fired.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he wins it, honestly, because at that point, now what I'm seeing Emanwari do, and we're all seeing Emanwari do, that last game is phenomenal. But I know Schlesinger has been leading the rookie class defensively in almost every category all year long, and I know how important he is over there in Cleveland, that youth movement they have.
Yeah, I had 2 guys written down. I mean, Schlesinger's my pick also. I mean, the guy's just a football player. Not a sexy position, but he wears the green dot, leads that defense, and it's a top caliber defense. I gotta be honest, I'm kind of blind in this category, but another guy that I saw pop up a lot, James Pierce, 10.5 sacks in Atlanta. Anytime you get 10 plus sacks as a rookie, that's pretty impressive as you're still learning how to pass rush against NFL offensive tackles. So that is impressive to get 10.5 sacks. But again, I think it goes back to when you win one of these awards, it's over your entire body of work throughout the season. And I think that Carson Swettinger kind of had a more consistent season than any other rookie.
I love that one. I mean, I will say with James Pierce Jr., he's was very high for me as well, especially because it's a position of need. But also, that was one of the reasons why I think that Atlanta was a better job than maybe people gave it credit for, because they have pieces on their defense, Xavier Watts, James Pierce Jr.,
Yep.
that are really great going forward, that are cheap because they're on their rookie deals, right? I say cheap in
Yep.
in quotation marks, because they did trade up to add to their defensive front, but ultimately they're gonna not have they have flexibility at other positions because they did such a good job of figuring out who to bring on to address a pass rush that sucked for many years. There's just no other way to put it. Okay, this one is one where I'm gonna let you guys lead on this one, because the assistant coach of the year is something where, so the choices are Vic Fangio, or the top five. You can go off script, of course. Vic Fangio, Brian Flores, Vance Joseph, Clint Kubiak, and Josh McDaniels. The hard part for me with this one is, without having a lot of knowledge to the intricacies of each team, I feel like this is one where only players really should get to vote, because how on earth is any writer supposed to know who's actually in charge where?
I think I have two names out of those five that really jump off for me, and Brian Flores is one. Just watching Minnesota's defense, especially later in the year when they need to make plays, and you could see him bringing the pressure and messing with these quarterbacks. So that'd be defensive. And then Josh McDaniels, I think the job he's done. Obviously, I don't know him, but some guys are not meant to be head coaches. Some guys are meant to be assistant coaches, and I just feel like he's an exceptional offensive coordinator. Obviously, Logan can speak more of that being around him, but he has done a great job up there with Drake May and kind of reestablishing what New England offense is all about. So I'll go with Josh McDaniels, bringing the Patriots back offensively.
Well, I'm glad Zach chose it, so I don't have to like sweep with the Patriots on all the categories. Play with Flores. I mean, he's just one of the best assistant coaches, period. He's a head coach. He's just so good at his job. But I'm going to go with a different one. I'm going to go with Vance Joseph. In Denver, they had a really special year defensively. I mean, they played their butts off in that last game, but all year, 72 sacks, and really good structure. You have defensive player of the year over there in Surtain doing what he's got to do. But I really like how Hufanga played, acquiring Dre Greenlaw. I really like Alex Singletary. So I just felt like they got the most juice out of the squeeze. Look, Minnesota has such great scheme. Denver had such a good year statistically, and we know Sean Payton's an offensive coach. So the defense is left for him. Same as Mike Vrabel. He doesn't coach the offense. He has some things he wants to do, but Josh McDaniels is left for that. So those guys, McDaniels and Vance Joseph, it came down for me. And I'm going to go with Vance Joseph on this one because Denver had a really, really, really good defense this year, and I think he deserves his flowers.
So I took my approach was expectation versus reality. So we expected a lot from the Eagles and they didn't perform. So they got whatever crossed off for me. Vance Joseph, they expected a lot. He rose to the challenge. Okay, still in it, but whatever. Brian Flores, excellent job. The problem is Minnesota in general, they spent a lot of money on that defense and they couldn't win games. So overall, it feels not as exciting because the offense let the defense down. It seemed weird, right? But Clint Kubiak and Josh McDaniels are kind of where it netted out. So Josh McDaniels, but ahead of the season, everyone's like, maybe they've got something with Drake May, but who's going to catch the balls, right? Like, and what happened? I mean, we saw Keyshawn Boutte have ridiculous deep passes. All of these fun structures. Their passing offense didn't mean they couldn't go to the Super Bowl, and that's so he exceeded expectations. And Clint Kubiak, though, no one was talking about Seattle ahead of the season. They were like, why on earth did they bring Sam Darnold in here, blah, 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 like leftovers, blah, blah. And now you see him head to the Super Bowl. So, I mean, again, mine is, I don't exactly know what's going on. I know Mike McDonald is a defensive minded head coach. So I was like, might as well throw Clint Kubiak's name in there because
Oh yeah, no doubt.
it's just about what we thought ahead this season versus where they ended up. So, I mean, I don't really know. I could make the case for really any of them except for, to me, Vic Fangio's a legend. But I think this specific year, the Eagles were so weird and disappointing that's the one where I'm like, well, I don't think it's Fangio's fault, but I just don't think he'll win because of that. So I don't know. To me, that one's harder. I think only player.
It's a tight category.
That one's tough.
It's really,
Yeah.
really tight.
Yeah.
And all those guys, I mean, are impressive. Seattle's impressive. What they're doing with Drake May this early in his career is really impressive. And, even Vance Joseph in Denver's structure is really impressive, and they have high expectation, but they still gotta deliver with all the sacks that they had,
Yep.
72. So I think, you can't go these are all like coin
Right,
flips.
right. I don't have enough insight to know. I mean, it's like, all right, whatever. But coach of the year, we all can judge that because why not? Liam Cohen, Ben Johnson, Mike McDonald, Kyle Shanahan, and Mike Vrabel are the finalists in this category. Who is it? Zach, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like we just said about the assistant coach, all these guys had great seasons, but again, and I've been praising him for the last couple of weeks, but Mike Vrabel, I just love him. As far as like a guy that I wish I had a chance to interact with and play for throughout my career, I think he's just got a perfect mix of um, understanding how to be a part of the players, but also drawing that line of what's expected and the standards that are set in front of you. So I just have a ton of respect for him turning a franchise 4-13 to 14-3 going to the Super Bowl. It's really impressive. Young quarterback. He went out there when he got hired. He went out there. He got the free agents that he wanted. He got the coaching staff that he wanted, and put it together within 6 or 7 months. So the job that he's done and his staff set up there to kind of reignite New England and put him back into power, honestly, for the next decade, is really impressive.
Cynthia, I'm torn. I'm torn. I got a lot of my guys up for this category. This is the tightest one. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if anyone got a vote. Ben Johnson, Liam Cohen. It comes down to two. It comes down to Kyle Shanahan and Mike Vrabel. Obviously, Kyle Shanahan might have did they both did a lot with very little. We'll say that. And with the injuries, 7 games with your quarterback missing, that's tough. But I got to go with Mike Vrabel. All of Zach's reasons. Another one I would add is back-to-back 4-13 seasons. So they were 4-13 the year prior with Belichick coaching. Then they were 4-13 with Gerard Mayo coaching, and then a big free agency that doesn't always just equal 12 win, 15, 16 win season. It's more than just free agency. It's coaching. It's getting the best out of your players. And Mike Vrabel is a heck of a coach. I've been coached by him. We talked about it. He's a great strategist. He's great with knowing how to end the game. He's great with game planning. But I think he's even better of relating with the players than he was in Tennessee. When I sat down and talked to these guys about, let me hear some Vrabel stories. He's like, he's not on as hard on them as he was with us. And I think he's learned from his Tennessee experience. I think he's grown even better, and he won a coach of the year in Tennessee. So if he's better and he already had a coach of the year version, what he's done is unprecedented. Obviously, one of the greatest turnarounds in one season ever. And I think how he's winning these playoff games, if we're taking this into account, they had to beat the number 5 defense, the number 1 defense, and the number 2 defense in the playoffs. And Vrabel's a defensive coach, and every single week they hear how the other defense is better. And their defenses outperform those defenses every single game. And their young quarterback is not turning the ball over at an extremely high rate to lose those games. So he's doing what he's got to do to win each of those games, and they're hard games to win. So I'm going with Mike Vrabel.
Okay. I mean, I truly think any of these guys are worth, like, any of them get announced, you're like, yep, totally, absolutely. But I'll make the
Yeah.
case for Kyle Shanahan because I don't understand, like in other organizations, if you have your number 1 wide receiver, where is he? In Cabo, like MIA, right? And it was a mess to begin with. Then you lose a Bosa, you lose a Warner, you have all these question marks every single freaking week, and you are in it till the very end. And of course, the last game, I think they kind of ran out of steam just a little bit. But I mean, for goodness sake, like, I just don't know how you keep all of those things together, given all of the mess that you have, and still contend as a wild card. I just, to me, it's like that is coaching right there. And I make a joke a lot, and I've said this to Kyle, he knows. I call him a lying liar who lies because he's always says at his press conferences, like, I don't know, like he doesn't tell us one lick more than we need to. But part of that shows both his and the whole commitment. I've obviously never played for him like some people on this show, but it shows his commitment to, like, this is who we are, this is our identity, this is how we do. And he's from top to bottom, from the minute that presser starts till the end, like this is exactly what we're telling. This is exactly the structure, and men follow in line with that. And I don't think that's an accident. So to me, you know, doing so much with such a mess, that's a hell of a coaching job. I mean, again, any of these guys, Vrabel, all of them, I could make a strong case for every single one of them, but that's my Shanahan statement. The lying liar who lies needs to win.
It's unprecedented,
Yeah.
and the only story I have about Shanahan is that just from 1 minute meeting with him to how he handles the guys, how much those guys love playing for him, just the strategy he gives you offensively. He's gonna be one of those 20-year guys. He's gonna coach in San Francisco for 20 years, and if they ever move on, it's just because it's like Harbaugh on them. It just grew old. He if he ever gets fired, he'll be hired in a day. He is one of the top 5 best coaches to coach football currently and will be for 25 plus years. And Mike Vrabel might be as well. But I know, and it's known what Kyle Shanahan can do with any quarterback, with any receiver. Like he needs his pieces, but people can get hurt and he can still find ways to win because he's that good of a coach.
Right.
I think it also it just shows too, like culture, standard, whatever you want to call it. Obviously, it was tested this year, and it's got to feel good that, like, man, we're doing it the right way because guys are stepping in. They know what's at stake. They know that they're not going to let their teammates down, their coaches down. I mean, what they got cooking there, they're doing it the right way.
By the way, just really quick, which is the worst of there's only a couple head coaching jobs left, but like Arizona, you have to go into a division now where you have Shanahan, McVay, Mike McDonald. Ha ha ha. That's fun. And then of course now thinking about the AFC West, the Raiders job, Andy Reid. You really want to coach? You had Sean Payton. You really want to like Jim Harbaugh, who now gets Mike McDaniel. Like those jobs are very difficult.
Yeah.
It's very
The
challenging to walk
reason
into.
why they're available every 2 years. They're tough gigs.
Exactly.
They are tough gigs.
All right, Zach, it's my favorite one to ask you about the protector of the
Yep.
year. As for odds, the odds-on favorite is Penei Sewell, number 2, Lane Johnson. I'm just looking at what the odds makers say. Trent Williams. Somehow Joe Alt is 4. I'm not saying I don't love Joe Alt, but like, do you got to play?
Yeah,
to
right.
get-
Right.
Anyways, I don't understand. Jordan Mailata's up there as well, but we can go anywhere we want with this one because there are no technical finalists. You can start because clearly this is your area of expertise.
Yeah, I'll throw in a couple honorable mentions, and I'll talk about my guy who I think is as good as it gets right now. But obviously, you got to throw Trent. Anytime you're talking about offensive lineman, you got to throw Trent Williams in there. I mean, arguably the best offensive lineman, maybe of all time, and still doing it at the level he's doing it in year 16, or I think it's 15, 16, whatever he's in. It's incredible to see him move, to lock down big time defender. I mean, quick story on Trent, the year Micah went off, I think it was his second year. I mean, no one could block this guy. We go into San Francisco for the playoffs, and everyone's kind of wondering, how are they going to handle Micah? Well, they didn't do anything. They just put Trent one-on-one with him the whole game and kind of shut him down. So to be able to do that is incredible. So obviously he's on there. Quentin Miners, I love Miners in Denver. As far as like bully ball, physical, what you want in an interior offensive lineman, I think Miners right now is kind of as good as it gets. I can't leave Tooney out there. We talked about him last week. Although he may not be the most dominant guy, he's still one of the top guys in interior. And he's been on 3 separate teams, and they've all gone deep playoff runs. So, and their offensive lines have gotten better the year he's gotten there. So to have that presence in the room and make a difference like that, he's got to be out of that list. And then my winner, I think, and the guy that I love to watch the most right now is Penei Sewell. I mean, the guy is just dominant. He can do everything. He can protect. He can road grade you. If you're lining up across from him, he can pull out in space. He can catch the ball if you need him to do that. So as far as complete offensive lineman, he's a young version of Trent Williams, and he's just going to keep getting better.
Man, I'm going to take the floor to make sure all the fans understand that this is why people should only vote for positions that they know about, or you shouldn't have to vote for every position. Because I was going to have Zach have the floor because I truly don't know. I can know who I hear is good. I can know who has a good rating, but I truly don't know the offensive line enough. And I'm an analyst for CBS. I call games, but I don't play it. I don't live it. And when we have these all-pro votes, you should lean on former all-pros, Hall of Fames at the position, and pull that position group to actually tell you who the best players are. Because no offense, Zach, I don't want Zach breaking down the top corners of the game right now currently, because there are guys that are rated high, but I know the coverage they are playing. And I know the guys that have really good seasons like Denzel Ward on the Browns, but he's not going to be voted for anything because they didn't win enough games. So that's why I leave the floor on Zach on that one. He's the only one that should have a say on that one. And that's how voting should be going forward. If you truly want to identify the best players
It
at
is
the
voted
best
on
time.
by an offensive line panel.
Yes, I do.
So
Yeah, yeah.
Good.
it's a panel of
Love it.
linemen. I don't know who's on
That's
the
what all
panel.
pros should
I
be.
know that Jason Kelsey's on it. I know Andrew Whitworth's on it. I don't know the full, like, I don't know exactly every single name on it, but I do know that it's a panel.
I
Yep.
second that.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. Well, I spent a lot of time studying offensive linemen. Then here are some names. Here's some people. I think there's two people who I think are off that should at least be on the list. Tristan Wirfs.
Yeah.
Anyone?
Yeah, I love Tristan
What?
Wirfs.
But like, I'm not saying he should win, but what?
Dominant,
And
different
then Garrett
offense.
Bowles.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Garrett Bowles had a really nice season too. I think Denver's O-line overall was probably the best O-line in all of football this season, if you kind of add everything up because of Quinn Miners. Miners was one that I had a stat for because no one had more yards in the run game on an per carry average when running behind him. That feels like it matters.
does.
I mean, I don't know. These are things that are really interesting, but I think that the Penei Sewell one will be where it gets where people run away with it. I just was confused how, like I said, the odds makers have Joe Alt on there. I was like, don't you?
Yeah, and I
like-
love Joe Alt. I love Lane Johnson, these guys that are on there, but they're not, again, like what we talked about earlier, they didn't play half the season, although they played great and they're going to have chances at it.
Sure.
You want to see the guys that,
It's protector of the year, not protector
Right,
of the career,
right.
like a career protector,
Right.
Yeah, that year. Yeah.
right.
Yeah, so I think it's Penei Sewell's, and I think it'll be quick. But I did want to. I love the Quinn Miners one too because I
Yes.
thought that was
And he's
really
fun to watch. If you don't, I know a lot of people don't watch interior O-line play when they're watching a game, but next year when Broncos
Yes,
are
they
playing,
do. They
watch.
don't realize
They
it.
don't realize it. Watch 77 out there bullying people.
Well, can I ask this, Cynthia, real quick? We know this award, needed to come up because linemen don't get any recognition. Offensive linemen don't get any recognition otherwise. How do you feel about it being as an O lineman? You're such a team guy. How do you feel being an individual protector or not the offensive line of the year as a team, as a
Yeah.
unit? How would you feel? You're probably a guy that would have won this award. So how would that feel accepting it, knowing?
Well, that was my only question because they used to have, because we won it one year in Dallas. They used to have like a line of the year. It was like the built Ford Tough line of the year, and I don't think they would do it at the award show, but they would be kind of they would show it on the screen. So it used to be a unit award, right? And like you said, Lauren, that's a great point because a lot of offensive line play, you're only as good as your worst guy out there. So yes, I do think it's important to do a unit award. I mean, I think that could be a secondary, you have a unit award and then a protector of the year award. I know they're trying to highlight offensive linemen and the things they do. So I do think it's important to highlight some of those guys, but to your point, it would be great to have a unit award.
It's possible that
No
now
doubt.
that it's Toyota, that's the official car of the NFL or something
Ma-
to do with like
Yeah.
sponsorship element of it. But
It's not Ford built Ford Tough anymore. No.
no,
Okay.
it's
A couple trucks. Get them boys some trucks, man.
Toyota has really great
That's
trucks. They're
wild.
very durable. I'm not, but I think that there's always something when it comes to sponsorship with the NFL. That is
Yeah.
it is we could have marketing of the year and it would always be the NFL because leverage is everything and no one has more leverage than the NFL. We're not going to go into too much depth on the case study of marketing leverage in the NFL, but we will go on to the comeback player of the year where the 5 finalists are Stephon Diggs, Aiden Hutchinson, Trevor Lawrence, Christian McCaffrey, and Dak Prescott. Logan, where do you want to start with this one?
We're starting with CMC. I mean, it's CMC. I might save more of my speech for another award for him. But unprecedented year receiving, playing. He barely played in a game last year, and I know how hard he works. I know how much he puts in his body. So I know it really pains him when he can't play because it's not like he's getting injured for the wrong reasons. Like he truly does everything he can to be as good a football player that he is. So when he's healthy, you truly see the value he brings on the football field. He's the closest thing to a little league football player in a little league football game. Like the running back is getting the ball every single time, and we still can't take him out the game. Like how I played against him, I played with him, and I'm telling you, the whole game plan is him. And the amount of damage and toll he takes on his body, the recovery he does to even play every week is impressive. And I think he's a great recipient of this type of reward.
Yeah, I mean, I do. I love me some Christian McCaffrey. I'll probably agree that he's going to win the award, right? I mean, he's impressive. We talk about how the Niners were able to stabilize after all these guys that got hurt. Well, it helps when you got 23 still out there running and catching it for you. But I can't not talk about my guy, my quarterback, Dak Prescott. I think obviously if
Yeah.
they win more games, he's a runaway for this award. But unfortunately, these awards I think come down to also, are you winning games? But as far as him coming off of a major hamstring injury, playing, I think, the best season of his career, he just looked comfortable. He ran more than he has in the last couple of years coming off that hamstring injury. So, and again, talking about Christian and what he does with his body, you won't see anyone put more time in their body than Dak Prescott down in Dallas. I mean, he's got guys with him at all times working on him. If he's got any break, he's working on his body. So I got to give him some love there. But again, having over 2,000 all-purpose yards in a season, especially when in the middle of the year, they need you to do that every single week. And for him to answer the bell every week, feeling like a garbage can, I'm guessing, after games, it's very impressive to see what he did.
I mean, one of those two, I believe, will win. I'm just going to make the case for Trevor Lawrence because the Jags did win a lot of games this season. And this was, going into the year, we talked about Trevor Lawrence having to show up. And in the beginning of the season, he was not the reason they were winning. It was their O-line and their running back. And then he started to get better and better and better, put them in a position to really, do some damage. Obviously, it didn't work out in the postseason, but I feel like the pairing with him and Liam Cohen, and there was a lot of goodness there. And we'll have to see if that trajectory continues. But I feel like it would be hard pressed. If it's not CMC who wins this one, it's going to be Dak. And then to me, honorable mention for Trevor Lawrence for coming back, the way that he did. And of course, and I love my Aiden Hutchinson, who had just a ton of pressures, but the Lions lost a lot of games that they shouldn't have. So it was just a disappointing season. And though it wasn't his fault, it's hard not to be like, meh, when it comes to that. So, all right. The one I think maybe the easiest award this whole the defensive player of the year. Is there an easier one than the defensive player of the year this year?
Unanimously
Unanimous.
Myles Garrett.
Which I don't know why. It'd be interesting to see when's the last time there was a unanimous
That's a great question.
defensive player of the year, because I can't imagine it's been very often. Maybe a couple guys come to mind.
JJ
that may
Watt
have
was the
gotten it,
last one, and he's the only one ever. Thanks,
Okay.
Ben.
Is he up for MVP?
Nope. There are no
See,
defensive.
I honestly, if I was a voter, I would consider giving Myles Garrett my MVP vote.
I feel like he should have at
because-
least been a finalist, but wait till you hear the one that's a finalist. That's weird.
You're just saying that defensive players can't win overall MVP though.
I didn't say that.
Yeah.
Because there are MVP candidates. We're gonna pick them. I don't want to go too off tangent here, but they had seasons that have been done. They've had seasons that's been done year to year. It might not even be better than the last year MVP season. Might not be better than Peyton Manning's season from 10, 12 years ago. Right? But we had a defensive season that's never been done.
With a
Zach
crappy
and I
team.
talked about how hard it was to do. So if that's not the most valuable player breaking a record that hasn't been broken in a decade, quarter century, that don't get you an MVP finalist. I mean, that just shows you some of the skewness with these awards.
Well, and I think a unanimous win. Like I think of Aaron Donald never won a unanimous defense, but how
Yes.
hard it is to be a
Yes.
unanimous defensive player of the year, which he's not yet, but I can't imagine him not being it. So that alone is crazy.
I do want to point out the other finalists who are Will Anderson Jr., Nick Bonito, who got snubbed from the All-Pro, by the way, not a first team or second team All-Pro. That's weird.
Crazy.
Aiden Hutchinson and Micah Parsons round out the list. For no offense to them, it's still wonderful to be a finalist in this category, but it's just whatever, not even worth us going into it. The fastest get off time we've ever seen for two seasons in a row. So Myles Garrett is potentially not human, is what I take away from that. Okay, offensive player of the year. The finalists are Drake May, Christian McCaffrey, Puka Nacua, Bijan Robinson, and Jackson Smith and Jigba. This is where I think Christian McCaffrey will win. I think that's pretty unanimous too, unless there's some weird world where people are like, well, let's give Matthew Stafford the MVP and Drake May the offensive player of the year, and then settle for comeback player of the year. Whatever. Even though Jackson Smith and Jigba is the heavy favorite to win this one because of his Super Bowl presence, I don't know. I think this is where Christian McCaffrey at least should win. I don't know. I think he should be the MVP at least, whatever. But people trade things down a lot.
Yeah, without borrowing from one another, I think that Christian McCaffrey will be the first player to win 2 awards. I think he should win the Comeback Player of the Year and the Offensive Player of the Year. And obviously, he's leads his team in receptions. He leads his team in rushing. He has over 2,000 all-purpose. He has the most touches. And you look at Kyle Shanahan in that offense. Last year's a lot of injuries. They didn't have Christian McCaffrey. They weren't good at all. This year, a lot of injuries without the quarterback, the number one wide receiver, the left tackle, the tight end, and they're still making the playoffs on the back of Christian McCaffrey. So you can argue he's more valuable than the quarterback, which is very hard to do in a lot of situations, maybe since like LaDainian Tomlinson, but he still had like Phillip Rivers and stuff like that. So I don't know if did he have Phillip Rivers? Did they play at the same time?
They did.
I don't want
They
to
did,
misquote
yeah.
that. But yeah.
Yeah.
So I just think the value of Christian to that whole if they don't have Christian, they don't win more than 6 games. Like it's just he's the one that couldn't go. And he did everything he had to do. And that's an offensive player of the year. If he can't win MVP, because that only goes to quarterback, then he's offensive player of the year.
I mean, I'll make
Yeah.
the case for Jackson Smith and Jigba because, I do think what he's done, obviously, the number of yards, impressive. The receptions, the deep, all of it, super, super impressive. My problem with giving it to just one player on a Super Bowl team is like, what about we saw Kenneth Walker do some pretty amazing things. We saw Zach Charbonnet do amazing. It's hard for me. And I understand Bijan Robinson had a ridiculous yardage year as well. All deserving, but I don't know. I have a hard time at this one not picking Christian McCaffrey. Actually, I don't like to give people multiple awards, but I just don't see how the Niners get where they get without McCaffrey.
I'll argue someone. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Christian McCaffrey won. I mean, for all the reasons, right? And I think for similar reasons, Puka Nacua to me is like, so we talk about defensive players, favorite defensive players. Puka is like my favorite offensive skill guy to watch. I think he's a complete player as far as receiving, blocking. He can run the ball. They are a different offense when he's not on the field. So for a lot of the same reasons we talk about McCaffrey, I think Puka fits that mold and will eventually get there if he doesn't get it this year. But as far as like competitor and at all times, Puka is a guy who just jumps off the film when I watch the Rams play.
And that's going to hurt JSN, Cynthia, because in my opinion, I'm picking Puka over JSN for his value. We talk about to the run game, to what they do, and
Oh,
you
I
have
agree.
Devontae Adams that leads the league in touchdowns, and Puka Nacua is still more valuable. So I think that hurts JSN's case a little bit. And I look at Jamar Chase won the Triple Crown last year, and JSN didn't win the Triple Crown. So if wide receivers win the Triple Crown and don't win Offensive Player of the Year, if they don't win the Triple Crown, can they get Offensive Player of the Year? It's just hard because it's been done before, based on history and whatnot.
I mean, truly, if I were voting amongst these people, you have to pick one. Is it Puka? Who is it?
It's Christian.
Christian and Puka for you?
I'm going Puka. Yeah.
I mean, I could argue
I'm
Puka,
going
and then
Puka.
for MVP, which we're the finalists, we'll round it out with MVP. Josh Allen, Drake May, Matthew Stafford, Trevor Lawrence, and Christian McCaffrey. No shit. I like Trevor Lawrence. Let me be very clear. I like Trevor Lawrence, but you are telling me that Trevor Lawrence is more valuable than Myles Garrett.
Yeah. Not based on the season they had this year. Not based on this season.
It's MVP for this year. It's not MV career. I would argue it's easily Myles Garrett this year too, or in career wise as well. But whatever. But that was the one that I'm like, Trevor Lawrence? Was that Myles Garrett? Okay, whatever. So who are you guys of those? Who are you taking?
Also, I'm going with, what happens, Logan? When you win games, good things happen. I used to tell young guys all the time, they're obsessed with the contracts, they're obsessed with the awards, all this stuff. If you win, all that takes care of itself. So that's why I'm going with Drake May. Just he wins. He's won this year. He's got the new coach, new coordinator. And the reason why I take him over Stafford really is just offensive weapons. Like if you look at Stafford, I mean, I love Stafford. He's an all-time quarterback, competitor, everything you want. But as far as you have a young quarterback with a new staff with not a top 10 list of weapons to go with it, and to go out there and play with the poise he's played with at 23 years old. He whatever, call him a system quarterback, whatever you want to call him. He's doing it at the highest level right now. He's taking care of the football. You can tell the guys love him. And again, I've said it multiple times, but they're going to be at it for the next decade with this guy. So I'm going with May.
Yeah, I agree with Drake May. And look, New England won 16 of their last 17 games. Brand new system with Josh McDaniels. Josh McDaniels is a heck of a coach. People would rather have Sean McVay's system as probably a better offensive mind. That's what Matt Stafford has. And Matt Stafford deserves to be obviously to have the MVP votes. And he does, because I've heard he's never had them before, which is kind of crazy to think about. But it shouldn't have to do with this year's vote. And a lot of Matt Stafford's, I don't say a lot, but some of his numbers are low red zone touchdown passes to Devontae Adams, which is a Hall of Fame low red zone route runner. And that can pad some stats. That can skew some touchdown passes. Drake May is not calling his own number down there. He's doing what he's told. He's handing the ball off. He's doing what he's got to do to win. I mean, I've seen New England purposely not score on a play in a low red zone to kill clock. That's not going to help your MVP stats all the time. So I just think he's done what he needed to do to win. He doesn't care probably about the award at all. He just wants to win games, which matters as for us football players. And when he does throw it down the field, when he does get the chances to air it out, he's doing it at a historically high rate. He's broke some Tom Brady records this year, and that's very hard to do. When you talk about accuracy, completion percentage, consistency, downfield throwing, he's like all-time high. And that is really, really impressive because he doesn't get to throw it downfield all game long. They don't want him to. Yeah. So when he does, he dials it up. You've seen him do it in the playoffs. He almost has a moment every single game to win the game for them. The booty throw, the bootleg to win the game in the snow. It's like he's making these MVP moments. You take the stats out of it, he's doing what he needs to do to help the team win.
I wouldn't be mad about Drake. I wouldn't be mad about Matthew, but it's Christian McCaffrey for me, and it's not close. Like, I just don't think that this team would have been anywhere. But, like, rarely win share is very much like, for a lot of reasons, quarterbacks get the highest win share. Like, Aaron Donald one season came pretty close. But, like, rarely do you see a player get more than a quarterback in terms of win share over the course of a season. And Christian McCaffrey's is. It's the highest one. And I don't care if he's comeback player. I don't care about any of it. But for Christian McCaffrey, where would the Niners be? Half as many wins? Maybe? Yeah, like, literally you saw what happened without a quarterback. You saw what happened without the whole defense. You saw what happened without the tight end, the future Hall of Fame tight end, any wide receivers. It is Christian McCaffrey. So I just don't. If there's ever a year where it should not be, and I like Drake May, I like Matthew Stafford. Obviously, I'm not going to be mad if either one of those win, but it's not even close. The number of touches, who touched the ball over 413 times. Oh, Christian McCaffrey. So I know quarterback touches it every single play as well, but like, I don't know, like, but take him off the team and see what happens to that team. We saw it.
Yeah, no, look, all the arguments is why he won 2 awards for me. It just hasn't gone that way for MVP. And you take Drake May off the Patriots, they might be 4-13 again, So it's
I'm
the
with
value
you, but
there.
I still feel like, I don't know, like the Patriots have a great defense, and they had a really good, strong defense for a lot of the season. You're telling me that the Niners defense is great without Nick Bosa and Fred Warner? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know that. I'm not like, obviously I'm not gonna be mad if it's Drake May. I can make an argument for Drake May. I just think Christian May.
It all works together, right? I mean, they also have Coach of the Year candidates, right? Shanahan coaches butt off
For sure.
as well, just as Vrabel did, and Josh McDaniels. So they have great coaches, which also can help fill in the spots. Christian McCaffrey needs to win some awards. I think that we agreed on Drake May over Matt Stafford. That's been that's been kind of the biggest debate.
100%.
And I think Myles Garrett should be the MVP of the league, honestly, if we're keeping it real.
Yeah.
I think he is the best player in the league, and he is unanimously better than the next best defensive player.
For sure.
And I don't know if there's an offensive player unanimously better than the next best offensive player.
Yeah.
He's the best player, and then you're like, oh, the next best rusher is TJ Watt, or is it Miles, or is it Michael Part? No, it's like unanimously the best player is Myles Garrett on defense. And we haven't had a player that dominant maybe since Aaron Donald, right? I guess that is just
Aaron Donald.
Right.
I would say that was the one I would say, because Aaron Donald would be the one guy that I'd say when you look at it, you're like, all right, take him out of it. Who's the next best guy? Which is a lot
Right.
what's going on with
That's
Myles
right.
Garrett right now.
The only one I'm going to be like scratching my head if they win, and I'm, again, not being mean to Trevor Lawrence, but I don't understand how he found himself in the final 5 for this category. Was it like only Liam Cohen voting? Like, or is it like only Jaguars beat reporters?
Jags get hot at the end of the year, and it's like recency bias. Everyone's on the Jags, and it's like, well, their quarterback's Trevor
Sure,
Lawrence.
why
You
not?
know, everyone knows Trevor Lawrence. Put him on. Yeah.
Anyways, your old coach is going to have to deal with figuring out how to stop, slow down, get around Myles Garrett. How about that next year? Obviously, you had a few
Yeah.
coaching hires this past week. Mike McCarthy to the Steelers happened, and of course, Joe Brady to the Bills. So let it tell what's the McCarthy? How do you feel about that? Like pairing?
Yeah, yeah, I'm super happy for Coach. Was able to talk to him this week after he accepted the job, and um, just knowing him, I know it's a dream job for him. I mean, the guy is as Pittsburgh as it gets. I told him he didn't have to hide his accent anymore in the press conferences, so I'll be looking forward to hearing the accent in full effect. But I think for the Steelers, you know, obviously historically they've hired these younger coaches and had them for a longer amount of time. I think right now where they don't really know what the next direction is, they go get a proven coach who understands the assignments. He understands the city. He understands how the Steelers play and the history of the Steelers and what the standard is there in Pittsburgh. And, you know, I think it's going to be a great fit. So I'm really happy for him. I know he's juiced to get back home. I know his parents and family still live there. So it's a great way to end his career out there. I mean, I don't want to speak for him, but, you know, could be his last head coaching job. And, you know, be a great way to end his career. So super happy for Mike, and curious to see who he brings along with him. Kind of the former coaches that I've played for, been in the building with. So super curious to see his staff and who he takes up there.
That's what I find fascinating about this coaching cycle in general, where I think a former coach or a coach that's also going to be a coach again has a huge advantage, because I think the land grab for coordinators this year is going to be bananas. So your ability to say like, okay, come work for my staff. I know what you're going to do. This is the Steelers. It's a great brand. Like it's a wonderful like organization. It's got a good reputation compared to some of the other ones, especially. You're not gonna have to overpay, but come work for me. Great. I'm Mike McCarthy. Like I feel like that's a big advantage in what figures to be one of the wilder coordinators. But by the way, I love the Cowboys' new defensive coordinator. I have to talk about Christian Parker for a second, because not a lot of people know him. You know why? Because instead of spending his time trying to convince us media folk that he's great, he actually just does his job. I mean, if you like to see where he's worked, he worked with Jair Alexander in seasons when Ja played and played very well with the Packers, and he went to the Broncos. Pretty good experience, you know, certain defensive player of the year there. And then, only over to work for Vic Fangio and the Eagles. Got some, Quinton Mitchell's pretty darn good, all of them. So, you know, Christian Parker,
Sure, look at
I
that.
always ask players, like one of my things is to ask players who they think is the best coordinator, who they've worked with, who they really like. Christian's been on my short list now for a couple of years. I expect him to be very quickly rising in the ranks amongst head coaching candidates. A great, like just a great guy, great leader. We actually talk about books that we read together. Sometimes like we don't read them together. We're not in a book club, but he gives me some good leadership books. I give him some. You know, my favorite book to recommend is Nonviolent Communication. Worst title ever, best book ever. But Christian and I have talked about that. So I'm a huge, massive Christian Parker fan. So just so everyone knows that.
Yeah, there's been I've heard a lot of positive things out of Dallas about him, and I think, you know, the best, at least my experience, the best coaches are the best teachers, and that kind of sounds like what he is, and his players that he's coached who kind of back that up, right? So I know there's a lot of people are excited down in Dallas.
How do you feel about the Joe Brady? Logan, I'll start with you. The Joe Brady to the Bills. What does that make you like? If you were a player on the Bills, are you happy about it, or like what do you? Obviously, it feels like that's Josh Allen, who was very involved in
Yeah.
the interviewing process, saying this is my guy.
It's so hard for me to, to step and assume right away. The one thing I regret in media is when Schottenheimer got the job in Dallas last year. I knew nothing of him, right? And there was so much speculation on who the coach was going to be. And I hopped on CBS and was like, well, who is this guy and what has he done? And it's not going to be a good coach. And you don't know till he coaches, right? And why am I speaking on somebody? I've never been coached by Joe Brady. I might have played against him a few times in some form
Carolina.
or
He's at
fashion where
Carolina.
yeah, Carolina
Yeah.
and stuff like that. You gotta wait to see what they can do. And I just from the outside looking in think that Josh Allen had something to do with some of the candidates. He had something to do with who he wants to coach him. And listen, Josh Allen deserves to have some say. I think players should have some say in who they want to get coached by. And when you have a generational player like Josh Allen that says, "Hey, I want Joe Brady to be the coach," or I'm okay with Joe Brady being the coach, a thumbs up from the quarterback, that's a big voice that needs to be happy about it. So from the outside, I've learned not to judge this too quickly and let me evaluate it, right? Let's evaluate it. Let's see what that means for the defense. Let's see who their defensive coordinator is going to be,
Yeah.
and whatnot. Because, in my opinion, Buffalo has not made meaningful stops in big games in a long time. And we put a lot on Josh Allen, or we don't blame him, or we blame him too much. That's up for debate. But when I think about the 13 seconds left in Kansas City, I think about some of these big moments that they have. Their defense doesn't make the timely stops. And it can always fall on somebody's shoulders. But I know on my Super Bowl runs, our defenses had to make some stops in New England. We had Tom Brady. We also had the number one defense. And I know when Denver won Super Bowls, they had Peyton Manning. They also had a really good defense. I know Seattle had Russell Wilson, and they had a really good defense, right? I know Kansas City had Patrick Mahomes. They also had the number one defense. So they need to get better defense over there in Buffalo, and they got to keep the quarterback happy. So who they hire in that staff is going to matter. My last point. You're going to see these 10 job openings or whatever they're getting filled. Staff's going to be a premium, right? Assistant coach's salary are going up. Hey, I need you, my guy. I need you, my guy. Hey, Zach, I might need you to coach up the O-line or play in the O-line, because then it's going to trickle down to free agency. Because new coaches, new GMs, they go get their players, right? And I think free agency is going to be booming. I think assistant coaches' salaries are going to be booming, because when you have this much change in the NFL, it's going to have a wave of people following people to go to the next location. And we're going to see a lot of that this offseason.
That's what I'm not afraid about, but like that's what I'm curious to see, because some of the names are like, that's where I was curious with Phillip Rivers, because when I know he took himself out of the running for this job, but over the weekend it kind of felt like it was gaining some true traction, and I was like, well, does that make it better or worse? Because he coached a high school, we get it, but he's not bringing a like high school OC to come coach the Bills, right? So I think almost none of these head coaching jobs will matter until you see the full staff, truly. Because until you see who's actually doing what, because Joe Brady's doesn't do the defense. He needs to get a freaking crackerjack DC in there. Not saying Bobby Babbage didn't do a great job, but that didn't feel like the right answer. They got to also get some different players in there too, and that helps. But it's like, let's see who comes with whom. And that's why I think some of these more veteran coaches, or you could also look at which agency represents each one, because that
Yeah,
pairs people
seriously.
together sometimes in some interesting ways. So I'll get you a full agency scouting report after the Super Bowl. We can map it out in like one of those murder boards. But yeah, so because that will matter immensely.
And I think I read something where Josh Allen, sat in on all these head coaching interviews. So obviously, what the upper management and Josh saw in those interviews did not outweigh what they thought they could accomplish with Brady and his plan of attack. So obviously, there's comfortability level there with Josh, and in his mind, maybe that he thinks that's the best way they can go on and win one.
I love that. All right. Well, I mean, we'll have by next week. We should know. Grant Udinski, by the way, got a big pay raise to stay in Jacksonville. So there we go. If I am, obviously, if I'm Tom Brady, I'm not. But if I'm, Mark Davis, if I am the Raiders, I am thinking about, well, one, they already reset the coordinator marketplace with a guy who's not even there. Northwestern grads, we're all pretty happy that the Raiders will be paying our OC to help out there, and Chip Kelly, but whatever, we Northwestern, we're poor. But ultimately, look, if I am those guys, I'm almost sitting here being like, okay, I want my head coach to be this, and you got to think real different, in my opinion. Let's pay the crap out of our coordinators and just have our head coach be like the deal breaker or the tiebreaker, as opposed to, because they got to think differently. It hasn't been working, whatever's been going on in the past, so it didn't work with Pete Carroll. Like that's tough sledding. So we'll see how these other ones pan out. Zach, since we won't have you next week because you got daddy duty, can you give us your early Super Bowl pick just so we have it on record?
Yes, I'm gonna go. I just think I've been talking the Patriots so much today, and I do love the Patriots, but I do think Seattle's the hottest team in the NFL right now, and
Finally, someone's on my Seattle, on
going
board
for,
with my Seattle.
I'm going for my guy DeMarcus Lawrence again. I'll be rooting for Seattle and hoping they can get it done.
All right. All right. Well, thank you. So, hey, congratulations. 4-time dad. Like that
For
is
real, yeah.
congratulations to your whole
Thank
family.
you.
I
Thank
hope
you.
that the snow stays the heck out of your way and you get a lot of salt on the roads. You get there nice and safely and everything goes really well. We will look forward to catching up with you and hearing more about your new baby. I'm so excited for you. Logan, I will, we need to talk about how great you are on TV. Like, whoever your agent is, can I replace them just to negotiate your deal at CBS? Because all I want to do is, like, I sit there, I'm like, that's my friend. He's killing it. And
Yeah,
it's
man,
funny
give me
because
the
we
map.
kind of go up against each other on Sunday mornings. And I'm like, whatever, Logan's amazing.
Max deal, Cynthia. Yep, I'm up for whatever you want to do.
Great.
I'm taking meetings.
Great. I mean,
No, I don't know. You know what it is though? I think Zach would be the same. It's just I got a fresher take off the field, and
Mhm.
the game's changed. The game's changed a lot recently. Probably what?
Yep.
It's not the same decade it was when we played a year ago. It's changed so much. So if you're not close to it, it can go past you quickly. So, but it's been a lot of fun on TV trying to always get the players' take on some things.
great. I love all of that. You guys are the best. I can't thank you guys enough. We will have our Super Bowl episode out next week, so you better subscribe. We've got a lot to break down. It's really fortunate for us that we have someone who, I don't know, played in a Patriots Super Bowl, won Patriots Super Bowls. Like, they can tell us everything about this defense and the Seattle defense and figure out
Seahawks.
just saying, we're pretty fortunate here. So thank you guys so much for a great show again. I will talk to you guys soon and congrats again, Zach.